thoroughly discuss this topic, we invited the chairman, Academic Staff Union of Universities, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Engineer Dr. Stephen Ufora. Engineer Ufora, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, listeners.
Okay, let me just ask you this before we get into the interview. This is one of the most searched topics currently on Google. So let me just ask you, I want a yes or no. We'll still go into the reason later, but is ASUU currently attempting to go on a strike action?
Well, that question is a complex question indeed. About the around is that the government has failed to reach or comply with the agreement we reached with them in December 2020. And so it's a common belief that since the government has failed, and if there is no signs of government responding positively, the union may be forced to activate the struggle that has to do with strike. But for now, ASUU has not declared any strike. We are still giving the government the benefit of doubt to respond to the agreements we reached with them before we suspended the last 9 months old strike.
Okay, so for now, there is no strike because a lot of students were worried. Now, remember that you can join the conversation simply by raising up your digital hand, and I will try to accommodate as much questions and comments as possible. And I also apologize for my lack of video. It's due to no power where I am currently. Now, according to the Memorandum of Action signed between the ASUU and the federal government, these were the following issues: funding for revitalization of public universities and academic allowance, that is EAA, and etc. Have the government done any of this, and which ones have not yet been fulfilled?
Yeah, I think you have a copy of the Memorandum of Understanding with the government.
Yes, I just screenshot. Yeah, I'm just sharing a picture of it right now. Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I'm sharing. Hello, we can hear you.
Okay. So you could see the issues at stake. The issue of revitalization for universities, public universities precisely, that has not been met. The federal government said they have deposited a 30 billion mark of commitment that we agreed before we started a strike with CBN, but no university has been able to access that fund as we speak now. The end academic allowance, the next tranche of it was due for May 2021. As we speak now, that tranche has not been released. Shortfall of salaries, you are some academic staff in federal up to 19 months salary as we speak. This is not exaggeration. We have the data with us right now. Some 14 months. So some are paid, and after a while, the payment will stop. And so this has been a challenge. So that has not been met. Decision panels were sent to universities, and as we speak, the white paper on that decision panel is not yet out. So that job has not been concluded. The reconstitution of the 2009 ASUU Federal Government Agreement Committee, the committee has finished their job, and the federal government team has reported back to the government, but the government is yet to come up to sign that document with the union so that we can talk about a time frame for implementation. So that job is not yet also concluded. Then the University Transparency and Accountability Solution, UTAS, which the union proposed as a replacement for IPs that has not been able to handle university worker salary. the government has subjected the UTAS to several tests, and recently it was displayed before the end users on August 10th. And up to this moment, government has not responded back to say, yes, we are deploying UTAS as from when and how and when. And so virtually all the issues at stake, none has been resolved as we speak today. So that is why the apprehension around the system, the university community, is that, look, the government is pushing the union to the wall again. And of course, when you push someone to the wall and to his own limit, if he cannot break the wall, he will react. And so, of course, the union will be forced to react if these issues are not resolved, because our members are no longer administration as regards this memorandum of action that was signed with government when we suspended strike in December 2020. Remember, that strike was suspended. And so we don't need to give government a notice if we actually want to go on strike, because we'll never stop. We've never, the last strike was just suspended and not called off. And so we don't need to give any announcement before we decide to embark on any strike. And so that is the situation on the ground for now. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Your line is breaking up, but we are trying to follow the discussion.
Okay, I said all the issues, none has been resolved. All our matters, and so that is why you have the news going around now that ASUU is about to go on strike. And of course, when we push to the wall, we need to react.
Okay, now, knowing that governments have a problem with implementations, why did the union initially suspend the strike?
Yeah, Neka, you are part of why we suspended the strike, because you, the press, you are also on our neck. The parents, we are saying, look, give government another opportunity to show they've changed. We've been this way for decades, and government is the same thing. They only change their parties, but they behave alike. So, but when the pressure is much on the union, parents are there, students are there, even the press, everybody is saying, ASUU, this is your 9-month strike is long enough. Why not give government the benefit of doubt? That's why we suspended. It's not that we don't know the government. We just want to give them the benefit of doubt. And they prove that they've never changed.
Again, on the leaders. Okay. Nigerians have accused the leadership of...
Pardon?
Of ASUU as inconsiderate, and like you said, I said Nigerians have accused the leadership of ASUU as inconsiderate, and among other things. Like you said, the public opinion is not in favor of the union. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think that is why we are not always in haste about this issue of strike. And I think the students that are with us in the system will understand us better. And I wish the parents will also come to us and see what we're talking about. If you watch other unions that go on strike, they go on strike basically for their welfare. And as soon as that is sorted out, they pull up from the strike. But also is talking about the whole system of our education. We're talking about funding education, not just about our welfare of our members. And so it's just that the masses have refused to fight for what belongs to them. The political class have made the masses to believe that we are slaves and we're second-class citizens in our own country. And so nobody wants to talk. Because people are afraid. It's already ASUU that will stand and say, yes, we cannot continue this way. We must give our children the best of education that the country can afford. And I also believe that the government has the funding to fund education. And that's why we are in this struggle we are in. It's quite unfortunate that the parents that are supposed to be part of us in this struggle are misunderstanding us. ASUU has refused introduction of tuition fee in public universities, well, federal universities. And it's for the benefit of parents and students. We could as well say government pay us our entitlements and then increase the fees, and let the universities raise funds from the students and pay the lecturers their money. After a worker is worth his wages. But we said no, that we know as a nation that we have resources to take care of the basic need of the masses of this country. And these resources belongs to all of us, not just to the political class. And so I think it would do us good if everybody understands what ASUU is talking about. It's not about the welfare of members, it's about the system surviving. Most of our political class, their children are not in public universities in this country. You look around, you see the way private universities have been approved, and then go back and check who owns those private universities. Is this simple that want to muzzle the public universities to a close down? It's quite unfortunate that we have been misunderstood by those we believe we are fighting for. And that is always the way it is for when you want to struggle for freedom. Those who are fighting for always misunderstand you, but let's see how it goes. I don't pray ASUU should fail in this struggle, but if ASUU fails and then the government introduces tuition fee in federal universities, I think the students and the parents will understand better what we'll be saying all these days.
Have the union ever considered carrying out a scheme to actually gain public understanding or favor?
Yeah, we've gone. You see, before we even talk about strike, we go for mass media, public enlightenment. Even sometimes we produce flyers for students to a discourse. Each branch of ASUU is ready to engage the students on campus in a discourse to tell them this is what is happening. Recently, I went to a lecture. I had a lecture with my students, and they were asking me just the way you asked, is it true that ASUU is going on strike? And I read the text from one of my colleagues who said, for the past 19 months, I've not been paid salary. And the student could feel for it. He said, no. And I asked the student, if this person is your parent, working for 19 months, not 1 year, 19 months, going to 2 years without take home. Neka, if you are such an academic staff or a worker in university, how would you feel? Considering the biting, harsh economic situation we are in today, and a worker is working and without payment, or because of the so-called introduced IPs that could not manage salaries for university workers. And so we do the public advocacy, but I think I've said it earlier that the political class, they want to enslave all of us so that nobody speaks. Everybody's about, let's be suffering and managing our life. They say so Nigerians are good in suffering and smiling. So everybody wants to look, I don't want trouble. Let me keep on suffering the way I'm suffering. And that's what we have today. And it's nobody wants to speak out against the system that's working against the masses. So that is it. We do our best. Even as we speak now, press conferences are being held across the nation to enlighten the public on the situation on the ground, to tell the mass, look, we suspended strike in December 2020, following the outcry of students and parents. Now the government is failing again. And to meet up with the agreement they signed, we willingly signed, not that they were coerced.
Engineer Ufora, can you hear me? Ufora, sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry because it seems my network keeps breaking up. Now, during the strike last year, the government carried out the no work, no pay policy. Did this policy play a role in the suspension of the strike last year?
No, it didn't play any role. The issue of no work, no pay, it cannot hold. Okay, for instance, I told you somebody is already being owed for 19 months, so that person is not supposed to be working. I'm not giving an list. There are several others. There are very few university workers that you say, look, these people have been paid their salary up to date. The same to state university. So if we are to invoke the no work, no pay, we should invoke it that no pay, no work. So we have to the letter now, which is so, but it doesn't hold. That is a means of government cowing the masses from defending for their rights. No work, no pay doesn't hold. There's the principle of bargaining in between employer and employee stands. So when you reach an agreement, you see, I think it's intimidation that you reach an agreement with somebody, and when the person says, look, can we implement our agreement? You suddenly invoke the no work, no pay slogan, and then you want to threaten the person or cow the person to come back to work. ASUU doesn't fall to that threat, because we know we give time, and this is not something that it's not a new demand. These demands have been there since 2009. That's what we're talking about, renegotiation of 2009 agreements. What it means is that whatever any academic staff is earning today was what we agreed in 2009. How many years ago? Look at the economic situation in our country, and that is what we are still earning to date. And so there are things, when you want to fight for your rights, there are sacrifices you make. Yes, the work no pay, no work no pay is an instrument of government to coerce and then compel workers to go back to work, but not for a union like ASUU. We're ready to pay the sacrifice, to make the sacrifice to get to work, to get the Nigerian system working. If you watch, virtually every system in this country has collapsed. And the last they want to do is to collapse our educational system. Today, secondary school, private secondary schools and primary schools are no longer functioning. Sorry, public, private, and primary and secondary schools are not functioning again. Everybody talks about public private school, sorry, private secondary school, private primary school. And so they want to do the same in higher institution, so that private universities will be the end of the day, and they do public universities. And our poor masses will not. Some of my students that do menial jobs to pay school fees, even at the present situation we are in. So imagine when tuition fees are introduced, some of them will give way, and that will also encourage the security challenge that we're having already in the country.
Can you actually expatiate on this tuition fee that you've mentioned? You've mentioned it about 3 times now. Can you expatiate on what it entails?
Yeah. I think what I mean that in our discussion with government down the years about this funding of education, the government is of the belief that that government cannot fund education alone. And as such, the government proposal is that the government be allowed to introduce tuition fee. What you pay in universities, public universities today, is nothing compared to what they pay in private universities. You can go and carry out your research. For instance, Unizik now, they paid about 40-something thousand naira for one session. These are just service charge. It can be tuition fee. If you want to check where tuition fee are paid, you check private universities where they pay as much as 500,000 per annum for tuition fees. And compared to what we pay in public universities, nothing to write home about. So these are the issues at stake when we talk about tuition fee that government is pushing for. The government wants students to pay tuition fee. That you pay for whatever the services you have in universities. That's what I mean by tuition fee. So the government believes that for them to raise funds to fund university education, that students should need to pay for it. And then they propose the issue of education bank, where you go to pick a loan. And then when you graduate from school, you go and work and refund the loan. And the question is, which work will you do after graduation to refund the loan? So that's why the union says that, look, we don't need tuition fee. We have enough resources in this country.
Okay, considering the economic realities on the ground now, don't you think that's a legitimate concern from the government that they can no longer fund the educational sector?
Yeah, Nick, let's be realistic about this matter of not having enough resources. The union has made a proposal where government can source for funds to fund education. Do you know that the stamp tariff that you pay or stamp duty you pay for banking, your money in the bank, where does that money go to? Where is the money accounted for in our budget? These are the questions you ask. Government agencies that are fund that generate revenue for the government, how accountable are they? How often are their accounting system audited to know where we are as a country? The looted funds that were recovered, where are they? So the government is not sincere. Even so, let's come. We have given proposal to government on where to source for funds, but there's no political will. The union has made proposal to government. Look, you can source for money here and there. Let them come up and let's engage the government in a debate, and we open up to them where the money can come from to give Nigerians the privilege of accessing quality education. It's not too much a demand by the youth of this country. It's not too much a demand by the masses of this country. We have the resources. How much do National Assembly members take home? Less than 500 in the budget. Go and check the budget and see their budgetary allocation. What is executive vote for governors? And some of these governors cannot even release funds to state universities to pay their workers their salaries. And so the truth is that the political class, they don't want to help the masses of this country. And it's quite unfortunate the masses have become so have resigned to fate. And whatever comes out of it, they are ready to keep on suffering.
Remember that you can join the discussion simply by raising up your digital hand, and I'll try to accommodate as much questions. We are discussing Dr. Stephen Ufora. He is the chairman, Academic Staff Union of Universities, Nnamdi. Now, let's talk about the academic allowance. What exactly is this? And how is this a problem for the union? And why have the federal government refused to pay this money? Engineer Ufora, did you hear my question?
Yeah, I couldn't. You said?
Hello?
Come again. Hello, I can hear you.
Hello? I said allowance, which is, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Engineer Ufora, I was talking about the academic
allowance.
The end is this, and how does it affect the academic staff union of universities? And why have the government failed to pay this particular allowance?
Well, I think the question will best answered by the government, because you see, the end allowance is part of the entitlement of an academic staff, of every academic staff in the university. And it's just as the name goes, end. It's not a gift. It's something you worked for because of the limited number of academic staff in university. So those in the system are already overworked. So those excess work you did, or the academic staff are doing, is computed, and the government agreed that that figure is correct. They've sent verification team, they've sent forensic audit team to audit the demands, and they say, yes, we are entitled to such a take home. And we agreed with them, and instead of paying it at once, it was broken into tranches. And so I don't know why they said they are ready to pay, but the question is when. And we signed an agreement that this next tranche will be paid in May 2021. So the reason why they have not been able to pay is best known to them. They've not said this is why they have not paid. They are not paying, or they will not pay, but they keep on promising. And the question is, the value of the naira is depreciating as the day goes by. So even the value of the money we are talking about is no longer what it is 3-4 years ago. So these are the issues. So we cannot answer for the government why they're not paid, why they've not paid, and we cannot hold forth for them. The government should be able to answer for us why she's here to pay the end academic allowance to deserving academic staff. But it's not for everybody, it's for those that are deserving of it, that worked for it.
Now, there are a lot of voices raised in the educational sector, especially the higher institutions. Are you of the opinion that once these demands made by ASUU are met, that the quality of education, especially in higher institutions, will improve?
Yeah, this is actually why we are talking about the revitalization fund we are talking about. Now, if you walk through the campuses of our universities, you see there's nothing to write home about. And it's quite unfortunate that recently the average Nigerians are beginning to send their children to Ghana, to Guinea, to all these small African countries for higher education, because we cannot, you see, our system, the university system did not, the improvement in the infrastructure did not go with the population growth of the country. Most older generation universities, there are no improvement in infrastructure, but the population of admission of students is increasing. There are no hostels, there are no laboratories, there are no offices for lecture, even there are no classrooms to teach these students. Just take a walk in a, you see where students are standing by the window outside the hall to listen to lecturers in the hall because of the overpopulation. So these are the issues we are raising, but since nobody wants to listen. So if government sincerely is ready to improve the learning environment in our universities, this will be a way to go. We believe strongly that if government has the political will, that the union can work with the government to improve the situation in our universities and make it to be among the best in the world. We can, we have the resources. We have. All we need is that political will to change the situation in our campuses. You see, Westerners are living outside the university campus, do not tell. Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I wanted to call on the participants to ask a question, but conclude.
Okay, a situation. Okay, as students, the situation where students are staying outside university environment with security situation in the country now doesn't tell. It's not the best for our youth. But there are not enough hostels in the university environment, so definitely, majority of students are outside the campus with the security challenges following that and being exploited at the end of the day. But it seems that both students and parents are comfortable with the situation we found ourselves. All they want is, I want my son to graduate in record time. I want my son to come out with a certificate. The quality of this training is not, they are not interested in it. But because we are patriotic citizens of this country, we are interested in the quality, because the quality of our product is also shows the quality we are made up of. So we'll keep on keeping quiet that all is well when we know that all is not well. We are also shooting ourselves at the foot. So at the end of the day, our students that will graduate will tell very much about the efforts we are putting to them. And so we believe that if the government has the political way to improve our educational system, not just higher institutions, but general education, and the president promise is going to increase the budget allocation to education in one of the educational world summits he attended. That's how it's going to play out. Because you look at the percentage budget, the budget for education at the beginning of every year, you understand that there's no political way for any change in our institutions of learning, in public institutions precisely. You make a budget of 40 billion, for something billion for all federal institutions. Hello?
Let us call on let us call on Otumba Oseni to make his comment or question. Otumba.
Thank you very much, Augusta. Mr. Lecturer, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
And one of the weapons you have as an employee of government or employee of any company is when you feel that you have been you're not being treated well, and certain things are not right with employment agreement and so on and so forth. You can collectively agree to go on strike. Am I right to say that? You go on strike when you think you're not being treated right. Yeah. Am I right? Can you hear me, sir? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
I said you are correct. You are right.
Yeah. When you go on strike, and that's exactly what I want to talk about. When you go on strike, what do you expect?
Yes. When we go on strike, what we expect?
Yeah, what do you expect? Yeah, what do you expect to happen?
Okay, what we expect is that when you refuse to respond or meet up with the agreement, when you go on strike, you see, when you go on strike, people tend to react more when strike, the necessity of strike is invoked. That's when you see the mass. Nobody's talking now. Now you see, Neka was asking me, what is it that we're doing? So nobody wants to speak for ASUU or against ASUU for now. But as soon as you see that ASUU has declared strike, you see everybody will come speaking. If the media will be on it, every day you hear ASUU on the news, but now nobody seems to understand what we're talking about. So it's just like a man that is held down and he wants people to hear his cry. And so he has to shout and say, please help me. And the essence of strike, the resident doctors are on their strike now. The government is listening to them. But all this while they've been shouting. NMA is also threatening strike. Nobody wants to listen to them. But as soon as they embark on strike, the government will now call them for a meeting. So the truth is that the government of the day are insensitive to the plight of the masses. And so the only weapon the masses have is to withdraw their services. And then the students will now begin to speak. The parents will begin to speak. Traditional rulers will begin to speak. Religious leaders will begin to speak that this matter should be resolved. So that's why the employee always activate this weapon of strike as the last resort. When every other pleading and dialogue has failed, it's always a last resort. As for ASUU, is a last resort. Because when we go on strike, we also suffer it. Our members also suffer it because some of them are also students.
These results you are getting.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sure. I just want to take you to somewhere. This strike and the result you are getting, why do you think it has been a continual, a common feature, kind of a culture?
Recurring this,
yeah, yes, recurring. Yeah, that's also. Why do you think it's like that? Let me then continue. I'm sorry, I don't want to be asking you a question like, I believe that government gets away with murder, with so many atrocities because the people, the people they are abusing, they're just treating anyhow. It's because they see them as people who can make so much noise, bark like dog, bark, but they never bite. How many times have you come down? Unfortunately, I mean, I don't go to university in Nigeria. I've been away for many years. And I want to tell you this. How many times has ASUU been going on strike, and then from nowhere, 7-point-something billion will be given to you as a backlog. And when you share that money among yourself, I'm referring all my comments to you lecturers. When you share your money, you relax. You don't even care whether the loofahs, the windows, all the dilapidated buildings in your university need to be fixed and so on and so forth. Isn't it a case of an average Nigerian, an average African, an average lecturer has not developed, they don't know what they want. And I'm sorry if I say you as one of them. My brother is a professor in my course, is my nephew. And I've always said that you guys is showing a sign of retardedness because you see all this rubbish and nonsense. How many people are in government? They're not as many as the employees of government, and they do what they like. They have the best of everything, and they make you look stupid. What's your comment?
Yeah, I think the issue of strike, I've said it earlier that ASUU as a union does not enjoy going to strike. And the issue of that we get our demands and forget about the masses is not true. And that's why if you look at the issue of revitalization of universities we're talking about, it's about the system. It's about the system of a higher institution, the system called university is what we're talking about, a holistic view of it. When we talk about revitalization fund, that does not go to the pocket of the union members. That goes to university management to actually expand and try to improve the infrastructure in the university. And the issue of recalling the small strike, is it in Nigerian system, you know as much I know that the political class do not care about what you're talking about. Doesn't care about your rational reasoning, doesn't care about how sincere you are in trying to get the system working. What they are interested in is what they get from the system. And so the union felt, look, you see, somebody has asked us, why not we sustain the struggle for donkey years and then get the system, get the matter resolved once and for all. But you also have my response. When you want to take the fight longer than necessary, the students who also believe they are receiving ends, the parents who believe that, look, they don't see any reason for this or struggle, comes in and begin to call your manner of names. And so you suspend the strike and we go back and hope to come back again if the situation continues the way it is. I think it's a scenario of he who fights and withdraws, lives to fight another day. It's not about, it's not about our settling our debts or because our needs have been met, not true. But the issue of EA we're talking about has been there for years, and governments every month once gives a tranche of it, and they will have to fight before the next one comes in. And then trying to brand ASUU as only, I think it's not our ASUU that goes to strike in Nigeria. It's just that the masses have no other option. Somebody has said, why can't you develop another alternative to this? I said, can you suggest to us what we should do? Can you suggest to us any other means we could use to get the government look in the direction of the education system and higher institution in particular? If there's any suggestion anyone has as alternative to strike by the employees of the third world countries, can that person provide such alternative? And let's explore it and see how it goes. Today is resident doctors, tomorrow is another group. Next time, almost every labor union in this country has once in a time went on strike to demand for one thing or the other. And I want to tell you that there's not, some of these union members are just talking about their personal welfare, but also is talking about the general system. That's why we take, government should release funds to fund education, to improve infrastructures in our universities. It's not about ourselves. No, ASUU don't manage the fund when government releases it. ASUU don't award contracts. It's university that is the government through the vice chancellor that award contracts. But we're saying release funds and possibly make sure that those funds are used to do what they are supposed to be used for.
Listening to you, sorry, my last one. Sorry, Augusta.
All right.
Listening to you,
please go ahead.
Listening to you looks like you might have another 100 years to get the solutions to your problems, because look, you use the word recurring decimal
to get
solution to our problems, because there's so many problems in front of an average Nigerian, and you keep skipping it every time things get better. Backlog is paid, then you start using the money for your immediate need, but you are not dealing with the forthcoming problems, which is the one that's making everybody look so stupid in Nigeria. Sorry, my language. Thank you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Did you get his question?
I don't know whether the lecturer got what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, as long as you keep talking and striking and getting back paid, and backlog is paid, and you go and use it for whatever it is, you are not thinking about the problem. The problem doesn't go away, the problem remains. So, and until you really solve the problem won't go away. And I'm looking at maybe another 100 years, you get your acts right altogether. Thank you, Augusta, for having me.
Yeah, Engineer Ufora, can you hear us? Hello?
They don't have light now. How can they hear you?
Engineer Ufora.
I don't take light. No.
Hello?
We can hear you. Can you hear us? While he is trying to fix his network, remember that you can join the conversation simply by raising up your digital hand, and I'll try to accommodate as much questions and comments as possible. Engineer Ufora, can you hear me? Okay, I'll just ask him to leave and see if he can join back. Probably that would fix the network issue.
I think it's from his network. There's still light there, but his network is. He can, because he's moving. He's not frozen, but I don't know.
Okay, and he is muted. So let me just fix that and I will come back. Engineer Faro, can you hear us now? Hello, Engineer Faro. Engineer Faro. Okay, remember that we are discussing the threat of strike action by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, and we are discussing with Engineer Stephen Uche Ufora. He's the Chairman Academic Staff Union of Universities, Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Engineer Ufora, can you hear us now? I'll just ask him to leave, and then hopefully when he gets back, he will be able to join us again. And also remember that you can join the conversation simply by raising up your digital hand, and I'll try to accommodate as much questions and comments as possible. Let us just wait a bit for our guests to join us back.
Can you connect to your audio?
And he left. I think that should be a network problem. Let's just give him.
He really didn't connect to anything. He didn't connect to his. He's back again. And
in the way.
Okay. Can I just give him a couple of minutes, and hopefully he'll be able to connect his video and audio, and we will resume the discussion. Remember that we are discussing on the threats of. He left again. Meanwhile, while we are okay, while we are still waiting for the guests, remember that after the interview, we asked that you kindly wait back while we discuss the situation in Plateau State of Nigeria. That is going to be our discussion tomorrow, but we want to have like a sort of preamble, if you will, after today's interview. And we are still waiting for our guest. He's here, but let us wait for him to connect back. Elumba Television, what do you say? While we are waiting for Engineer Ufora,